Guys, and welcome back to another video. So yesterday the trailer for Jurassic Chaos Theory Season 3 dropped, and it was very cool. It definitely got me excited, and so I'm gonna do a trailer breakdown. Yesterday I wasn't able to make a video. I wanted to make a trailer reaction just when it dropped, but I wasn't able to do that because both of the times that I filmed it, the video got deleted, so I wasn't able to do it. And then I also had planned a Jurassic Rebirth video yesterday, so unfortunately I wasn't able to make a trailer breakdown, but I'm gonna do it now. And before we start this video, I do want to mention that with the trailer for Jurassic Chaos Theory Season 3 being out, there's a new season for the chaotic theories just up on the horizon. So I hope you guys are a bit excited about that. But I'm gonna start off with this trailer breakdown. So enjoy. So we start off with the plane that we saw at the end of Season 2, and we see Brooklyn and Sienna Santos playing chess, and Brooklyn has the mechanical arm that we saw in that image. I don't know where she got it from. It's probably from Sienna Santos that gave it to her. And Sienna Santos says that it's important to have strong relationships because it's just like with playing chess, the queen can't win alone. And that further indicates that she still trusts Brooklyn, although we know that she shouldn't trust Brooklyn. But with this trailer, I don't really know if she has gone that much undercover that she basically just also became a part of that plan. So I don't know how that will turn out. I think that it will be like that she actually wants to be part of the plan, but then her friends like the camp fam then say that she shouldn't do that, and then she turns into a good guy again. So yeah, then the next scene we see all the campers in a plane that resembles the one from in Dominion, I believe, and there he says, "We're flying with a dinosaur on board," and they're flying with a Kentrosaurus. This could be Pierce, I don't know, it has the same color scheme, but basically all the Kentrosauruses have that color scheme, so I don't know if this will be Pierce. That could be Pierce. And then they're basically flying in the night or in the fog, so I don't know how they got this plane, but it must be somewhere in Senegal. And then the Kentrosaurus basically gets loose and things like that, and then it pokes a hole into the side of the plane and it crashes. I don't know if it will actually be the Kentrosaurus that makes the plane crash. I think that it will be the Kentrosaurus that makes it crash because we see it because the spike of the Kentrosaurus goes into the side of the plane. But it could also be that the Quetzalcoatlus would attack the plane, but I don't think that will happen because there are a lot of Dominion creatures that could appear in this season, and Quetzalcoatlus is, I believe, not one of them. And so Ben says that they're on the Italian border, and that means that they're very close to Bison Valley, and that it's basically winter right here because it's snowing right there. So this season probably takes place at the end of the year, like fall fall or winter, like probably November or I don't really know. And then Ben says that they're not far away from his girlfriend, and everyone is like, yeah right, I don't think that he has a girlfriend. And then they stand for the door, and Ben knocks on the door, and no one opens the door, so everyone is like laughing. But then she opens the door, and we see our mother behind her. And like Swerve pointed this out, that she's like in her mid-30s, and I don't know if she's actually that old, but it could be. She definitely looks a bit older than Ben, but yeah, I don't really know. See Brooklyn like looking on her phone, and with one hand and with like I believe her mechanical arm, she's holding the phone. And then, she's holding the phone with her mechanical arm, and then with her real arm that she actually has, she's like holding her neck, and then pretty nervously looking behind her. And it seems like she's in a sewer or something, so maybe she's in Malta. And then she says, "We are we really working with Biosin?" And then we see Louis Dodson with his face a bit tweaked, so that it looks more like. That he looks more like the one in the movie than Louis Dodson in the Camp Cretaceous, because there he looked a bit different. And unfortunately, it isn't the real actor from Jurassic World Dominion that's voicing him, but it's the actor that voiced him in Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous season 5. And then Sienna Santos, like. They're in front of a vehicle, and Sienna Santos like not really throws, but like she pushes a case of DNA or a box of DNA to him. So I don't know which dinosaurs that DNA is for, but it could be the DNA for some of the dinosaurs that were in Senegal that Biosin is planning to clone. And then we see Brooklyn looking at papers, and we see the locusts. But here they're called prehistoric insects, and I really hated the locusts. I really don't want them to return. They didn't fit in the Jurassic franchise. I also found, they really don't fit into the Jurassic franchise. And there we also a Sinoceratops in a paper that Brooklyn is also holding, or that she's putting her hand on. And then we see her picking up the DNA, and then they're in Malta or in a black market. I think that this is Malta. So this season could actually take place during Jurassic World Dominion, and I personally really loved the Malta sequence. And we see the sticky mologs. We see two of them, and one with a more red coloring. So I really like that coloring. And they're in like a fighting ring that resembles the one that we saw in Jurassic World Dominion. So the whole market looks very cool. We see all the guys like sitting there, and I don't think that the lampreys are there, like being roasted and things like being roasted and things like that. But yeah, and then we see Kenji, very discreetly giving the egg to Ben, very behind his back, like pushing against Ben his hand, and then Ben grabs the egg. So maybe they're hiding it from someone, maybe Brooklyn, I don't know. And then Ben's girlfriend asks if this is a real dinosaur egg. And then Ben says that it's Bumpy's egg. So, and then the next shot is where we see Yaz looking at the egg, and then it has hatched. So we're gonna see Bumpy's baby smoothie in this season. I'm very excited for that, and I also find it pretty cool that it's like in a bedroom that they use like a whole bed and covering it with pillows to keep it warm. I really like that. And then we cut back to Malta, and we see some guys running, and someone is changed by an Allosaurus. So this is further proof that it's taking place during Dominion, because we did see an Allosaurus being on the loose with a together with a Carnotaurus, what we see later in the trailer. So I'm really excited to see this Malta sequence. And although it is a bit weird that both Biosin both the Italian border and Malta are in the same season, but it could be those episodes are pretty long, and if we only have I believe that maybe Malta will be in the last 3 episodes. So yeah, And then we see a Ceratosaurus in the black market roaring, and the whole market is like on fire. And we also saw in Jurassic Dominion that there was fire in the market, but I don't think that there's actually that much people right here. And there also was no Ceratosaurus in the market in Jurassic Dominion. So maybe this could be a different market, or maybe there are different markets in Malta, because the Allosaurus and the Carnotaurus are on the loose. So I really don't know when this will be. And then we see like Yaz and I don't know who, and then we see Yaz and I can't really make out who the other one is. I think that's from another image you can see. It's Yaz and Darius chasing a sticky Moloch like on some scooters. They're like pretty old scooters, and they're holding like a purple flare. And we also see some cars driving right there. And then for this video and there's also a Sinoceratops running after them. And for this video I'm using the Netflix After School trailer because this trailer has a few extra shots. And then we see like one shot where where Yaz is like driving with the scooter, and then we see the Carnotaurus running after her. I don't really know if it is the demon Carnotaurus that we saw, but I think that it will be. It does look to be Malta, but it's a bit dark, so I don't know if this could be. But this could actually be that it's after the events of Jurassic Dominion, and that when like everyone is gone, like when the cast is like away on the plane, that the camp fam is there, and then they have to deal with all those dinosaurs being loose, and that would also show that there's fire in the market, and that pretty much no one is there anymore when there's fire. So that could actually be a pretty good series. So yeah. Then we see a Dimorphodon picking up a bike. So I don't know if a Dimorphodon could actually pick up a bike, but the Dimorphodon looks pretty big, or the scooter is just, the scooter, it's not a bike, it's a scooter, or like the scooter is pretty small, but the Dimorphodon is actually huge. But this could be pretty funny if this would be the bike that we saw the Allosaurus because in Dominion we saw a guy getting eaten by the Allosaurus on a bike, and this could be pretty funny if this would be that bike. And this shot actually is in the daytime, while like the last shots where I talked about were more like when it's almost nighttime. And I don't think that this is the bike that we saw the scooter guy, because it's a lot smaller. It looks more like a children's bike. And then we saw the locusts. So they're not only on the papers. We actually see them. We see it escaping from like a truck, and where Sammy and Kenji are looking at, and they look like to be they're in the snow, and they look like to be on a road, because we see some tracks or something like that. And then we see a Baryonyx. We see a Baryonyx in like streets, in a street, and there looks to be a garbage can, or maybe it's a car, and it's kind of being confused by by a swarm of locusts. Was it just flying in a big swarm, and then it's like a bit confused, and it's running in a circle. And now I see that it is a truck, and I don't know if this could actually be, but it looks like it has no eyes. But it's probably just from the shadows, because if the Leucistic Baryonyx would still be alive, what I highly doubt after the explosion from the lab, it would still be in Senegal, and I think that I do see some blue on the face, so this isn't the Leucistic Baryonyx. And then we see a Ceratosaurus, maybe the same one that we saw earlier in the trailer, like not munching, but like roaring at Darius, and then like trying to grab him, and Darius is also holding Smoothie's egg. And in the background we do see a cage, and there is a dinosaur in it, I believe, but I can't really make out what that is. And I think that this takes place right after the image where we saw Darius like hiding behind a pillar, and then we see the Ceratosaurus. And then we see the Ceratosaurus like behind him. So I think that Darius will just like hide very briefly behind that pillar, and then the Ceratosaurus will see him, and then it will try to grab him. And then we see him roaring. Then we see the Ceratosaurus roaring, and then we see Kenji and Darius driving a car in the snow again, and then suddenly a shadow like was probably the Pyroraptor, then very fastly goes across the screen. So yeah, that's probably the Pyroraptor, and then they are struggling to keep the vehicle good, and then it's like then the vehicle will probably stop and they will come face to face with the Pyroraptor. Then Ben is doing body squats, obviously the most important thing from the trailer. So yeah, and after that we see Kenji and Sammy on snow scooters, like trying to get away from a snowstorm. So this is pretty cool that we are actually going to see a snowstorm. And then we see a lady. I think that this might be the mother of Ben's girlfriend, and we see the Velociraptor's ghost tiger and Pancera trying to attack her. And then we see also the head of the Pyroraptor, what we see with the feathers on its head in the shape of the skull. And I don't know if these will work together, or if the Pyroraptor will attack the Velociraptors. But I think that she will die, and that this will basically be like with Daniel Kang, the emotional death. And I think that this will also, that in this season we also get to see that Ghost Tiger, Pantera, and Red are all gonna see each other. So yeah, and then we see Yaz and Darius like putting their hands up, and we see like a desert in the background, and we see Darius looking up and Yaz looking down, like maybe there's a dinosaur there. And it looks to be also in Malta where they are. I think that I can see some buildings there, and I think that maybe there's like a Compsognathus, or maybe Smoothie is there. And then Darius asks Brooklyn, "Is this who you really are?" And then Brooklyn says, "You don't know me." But now I notice that I know why Yaz is looking downwards, because Brooklyn is pointing the laser pointer at her. So you can see that she's pointing the laser pointer at her. So that's a bit gruesome. So that's further proof that she's actually really working together with Biosyn. And we see her like filming and pointing at the laser. So this looks to be at the same place where we saw that lady getting attacked. So I think that Brooklyn might be the one who needs to kill her. And in the trailer we saw her with a pretty blank facial expression, but we did see an image where she's looking like very not happy, but like with a dark smile. And she's also filming the death, so maybe she needs to film the death for like Biosyn. And then Brooklyn is in the market, and we see a taco sign in the background, and she's being followed by someone. And she's like also looking behind her. And then we see her in the streets, and she doesn't have the mechanical arm. And so there was also a scene where a helicopter, where a Pteranodon was chasing a Biosyn helicopter. This was the same design that we saw in Jurassic Dominion for the helicopter from Biosyn, and it is being chased by a Pteranodon in the streets of Malta. So that's pretty cool. And then we see probably the most exciting shot, one of the most exciting shots from the trailer. We see Sammy and Kenji. Probably when we have the scene with that snowstorm, we see the Pyroraptor jumping up from the snow, So this resembles a scene in Jurassic World Dominion where he jumps out of the water, and then we see. And then the last shot of the trailer is where we see Brooklyn and a guy. I think that this might be the same guy that was following her, because he looks like him. And this also seems to be like the sewer where Brooklyn was before. So maybe the reason why she was looking so nervously is because she was being followed by this guy. And this guy says, "What is that?" And then Brooklyn says, "Not what, who." And then we see the raptor handler, so she's actually returning for this season. So I really enjoyed her character, and so maybe she's gonna die in this season, and or maybe she actually has a relationship with Savannah Santos and with the Atrocitoraptors. So that's that's everything that was in this trailer. So if I missed something, then please leave it in the comments. And I hope to make more content about Jurassic World Chaos Theory Season 3 and Jurassic World Rebirth in the future. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you enjoyed, definitely leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye everyone!